everybody. What's up? How you doing today? How be you? How's it going, everybody? Guess what? It's Friday. It's time to stream, and today we are covering the debate. Why? Because I didn't watch it last night. Why? Because I purposefully saved it to watch with all of you right now. That and I was busy, so it's like it kind of works out. I don't want to watch it alone. I don't want to suffer in silence. So, if you've already seen it, that's great. You don't have to watch this. I haven't seen this. This is going to be a raw reaction in real time. And honestly, it's like it happened last night, so honestly, this really isn't that late at all. I think it's just in time, frankly. It's just a lot of people live streamed it when it was going on. Not me. I saved it for now. So how's everybody doing? How's it going? If you're new, welcome. My name is Jan Daemon. I'm Neogenian. I take a look at shit that's going on in the world, such as politics, social issues, religious, spiritual issues, etc., etc. Got our lovely moderator here, Cassie. Hello, good to see you. Who's doing very well. Yeah, everybody grab your snacks and stuff. There is no way I'm going to take in this reality of this debate raw and unfiltered. So I'm going to be honest, I'm a bit stoned right now already. Pre-gamed it a little bit, little stoned. And I know for the last previous live streams, I've been making it a point not to vape nicotine, but I'm going to vape some nicotine tonight. Because I really don't think I can get through this. I mean, I'm actually not excited for... I'm always excited to get on live Fridays with you all. But I'm not excited for this. This presidential debate business between Biden and Trump. Because I don't like either of them. So... it's like there's nobody to root for. In fact, it's just like who's going to be the worst, really. So anyways, we'll get started here in just a couple of minutes. Just wait a little bit for people to get in. Until then, say hello. Hello, Heretical Response. Hello, Specs. Hello, Altier. Good to see you. Hello, Brent. Jeremalo. Hello. Yeah, just to put it out there right off the bat, I don't like either of these people. I'm not happy with either of these candidates for president. So before you pin me as like some weird like Joe Biden like supporter or whatever, like I don't like either of these people. Obviously, I don't like Trump. I don't like either of these presidents. I'm not happy with my choices to vote this year. I'm not whatsoever. Very just old man grumpy about it. Just like fucking bah humbug. Exactly, Cassie says, two senile jackasses. So I have not seen this yet. If you've already seen this, who's actually watched this already? Because I haven't. I've purposefully been avoiding it. And I've been working most of the day, so I haven't had time to like see any highlights on it at all either. So I haven't even, because I like watching other streamers react to stuff too. I haven't even had time to like watch that. So like I have no idea. I'm going in unprotected, pure raw dogging this right now. Slightly stoned. I'm going to be naughty and vape nicotine and yeah. Probably going to crack open a beer, not going to lie. But it's going to be fun. So welcome. Welcome. We shall be getting started here very shortly. I got it all lined up and ready to go. Deepity deep bop biddly bo. What's going on with my camera? There we go. That's better. Go back here. Well, my lighting's really good today. Look at that. Look at that. I'm into this. This is good. This is nice. This is good. This is fashionable. I like it. Probably don't need so much clutter in the back. There, that looks better. I guess I can put that back there. The book I'm reading that I actually borrowed from Susan. It's a book written by Duff McKagan. Whatever. Talking about his experience with addiction. You know, from Guns N' Roses. This is the book I'm reading right now. Are we ready to begin? Should we do this? Am I mentally prepared? No, I'm not. You know what? Let's do it. We got a light beer. We got a couple of light beers. I'm not trying to get crazy. Okay. We got a couple of light beers. That's it. I ain't doing shots. God, no. Somebody suggested that. Like, why don't you do shots every time? It's like, why am I trying to torture myself extra? That sounds nasty. But have a little weed, nicotine, booze. We're all set. It's like the good old fashioned California trio. I call it. I'm California sober, is what they say, which is such a funny term. Some people don't like it, some do. I'm gonna need 3 before we're watching the debate. I think the debate will do enough in itself to make me, I don't know, disassociate. Are we ready? What should we do to signify that we are ready? Are we ready? Let's have oh Jesus, let's do dunce caps. Dunce caps in the chat if you're ready, because both of these people are dunces. And there's going to be duncery galore. In fact, that might be our most used emoji. If you become a member, you can get access to our special individual emojis. I've got one that's a dunce cap. It's very universal. Sometimes we look at dunces. Sometimes I am the dunce. Sometimes you are the dunce. Sometimes we're all the dunce. Oh my God, Cassie. Hey, Heretical, thank you so much for becoming a member. Now you get the duncery caps. Congratulations. What if I called our group like the dunces? No, our trolls would have way too much fun with that. You can't even, like, be ironic, like, people have to ruin things. Let's get going. Why not? Bum, bum, bum. Chicka, 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 choo. Bow, bow, bow. So I gotta be mindful. I've been noticing, like, some issues with my microphone. So let's see. Do. I feel like something's been off with my mic lately and I can't put my finger on it. I don't know, maybe that? Does that sound louder? Does that sound better? Number one, testing number one. Number two, testing number two. Nah, let's not get into it. I should have fiddled with it before, but anyways. I'm gonna be sure to be better about the microphone. We're going to watch it not in HD. Do we really need to see it that detailed? No. Well, here we are. It is time to watch the debate. I have not seen this. It technically aired yesterday. I've saved it until now, so this is my raw reaction. Don't like either of these two, just so you know, if you think typically, because it's pretty obvious I don't like Trump, so people just naturally assume, like, oh, well, do you like Biden then? You must like Biden. It's like, no, I don't. Could you just stop with this whole false dichotomy sort of shit? It's not like A or B always with people. Like, I don't like either of them. None of them satisfy me at all. So here we go. Let me fix the camera. Oh, that's not a good angle of my face. It's horrible. Anyways.
We're live from Georgia.
Oh, do we have closed captions? That's good. We need that.
Battleground state in the race for the White House. In just moments, the current U.S. president will debate the former U.S. president as their party's presumptive nominees, a first in American history. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world to our studios in Atlanta. This is the CNN presidential debate.
This debate is being produced by CNN and is coming to you live.
I already have that feeling like I don't know. You know when you're about to wash like a dirty dish, or like that one spaghetti pot that you've been let set there for like a few days and you know it's really gross? Like you're about to wash a really gross, nasty, moldy dish with food in it. That's how I feel right now. Like I'm about to wash a crock pot that's been sitting there with chicken juice in it for like 4 days. That's what's happening inside. That's the feeling I have deep down inside my soul right now. Just glove up. It's about to get dirty.
CNN International, CNN.com, CNN Max, and CNN Espanol. This is a pivotal moment between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump in their rematch for the nation's highest office. Each will make his case to the American people with just over 4 months until Election Day. Good evening, I'm Dana Bash, anchor of CNN's Inside Politics and co-anchor of State of the Union.
I'm Jake Tapper, anchor of CNN's The Lead and co-anchor of State of the Union. Dana and I will co-moderate this evening. Our job is to facilitate a debate between the two candidates tonight. Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules of the debate with the audience at home. Former President Trump will be on the left side of the screen. President Biden will
Great.
be appearing on the right. A coin toss determined their positions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer a question and 1 minute each
Only
for
2?
responses and rebuttals. An additional minute for follow-up, clarification, or response is at the moderator's discretion.
When it's time for a candidate to speak, his microphone will be turned on, and his opponent's microphone will be
So we do
turned
have
off.
microphone issues
Should a
here.
candidate
Now, that's good.
interrupt when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements. There is no studio audience tonight. Pre-written notes, props, or contact with campaign staff are not permitted during the debate.
We
By
have
accepting
way
our
too many
invitation
rules
to
right
debate,
now.
Both candidates and their campaigns agreed to accept these rules.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the
Jeez.
United States, Joe Biden.
Folks, how are you? Great to be here. Thank you.
And please welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump.
This music
Gentlemen,
sucks.
thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120.
It's
and
true.
Typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president, what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment.
I'm putting on sunglasses because I need more bullshit filtering. Because right now, I just feel like I'm watching an SNL skit. Like, this is an SNL skit. Like, this is not real. Like, the way they look. Really? I need more bullshit filtering. Okay, I gotta put on my bullshit glasses. I almost need Loppy, my rational support unicorn. Because this is just like... both these guys, we don't buy our own groceries. We don't give it out. Yeah, I mean... definitely groceries have been more expensive since the pandemic. Like, it's been outrageous. But they were kind of getting more expensive before then. I don't know. That's just, anyways, we're not even into this. We can't pause this much.
The rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. The price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for an insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans.
Is this fucking ASMR? Am I in a Mormon church? Like, is this conference week? Because
So we're working to bring down the price of around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent.
hey, Maury, good to see you. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Everything helps to get through this. This is almost like self torture. Like this is almost like self-harm, making myself watch this. But I'm so glad I'm with all of you guys. You guys make this so much easier, and really that's what I'm excited about, is coming to stream, not necessarily watching this. I don't like either of these fools, but it's painful to watch. I haven't seen it yet. This is my fucking first reaction. We're barely 5 minutes through it, and I already feel like I'm watching an SNL skit. Like, this ain't even fucking real. Hi, Elise. Elise is another one of our lovely moderators. Good to see you, Elise. Renaissance Fairy, good to see you. Pass the bottle. No liquor, no liquor. I have a couple of light cores. That's it. We don't need to get too crazy. This is crazy enough. And nicotine, because I don't know. I can't even deal with this. Moving on.
The money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce-back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you.
I mean, have you seen the price of beef jerky? It's insane.
Thank you, President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world, he's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he's the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history.
I mean, my brain doesn't want to go back to the COVID times, because I might have like a war flashback. But I don't distinctly remember Trump doing jack shit about that. And groceries are expensive as hell. I'll admit that too. Whether or not that's directly Biden's fault remains to be seen to me personally.
$1 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant. And the military, you know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still found ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others in all
China?
China.
Oh my god. I forgot. We actually have a, Is my sound off sync again? Shit. very slightly. I don't know how to fix that. I believe I have access to a bingo card. I believe I have a bingo card provided by Philip. Let's see how that goes. Hello, Andy. Hello, Macronomicus. I believe we have a bingo. Not an actual bingo, but a bingo card. Let me see. Jesus Christ, pull up. I already clicked on you. We're all staring at my desktop now. There we go. That did not save well. Oh well. I didn't prepare that. Well, I'm not gonna fuss. Let's go back to this. But China?
It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down.
The tax bracket went up. The tax bracket favored the rich people. It went cheap. Okay, so like before, you had to make like $20,000. I can't remember exactly how much before, like just selling grandma shit before you would get like taxed for it. Now, if you make $500 selling baseball cards, you have to start paying taxes on that. You have to start reporting on that. Like you can no longer like, which totally targets poor people, especially during the time of the pandemic, who would lower income people who had to resort to, you know, utilizing their personal skill sets to start doing independent services online, like making independent businesses over the internet, things like that, selling their skills, selling their items that they create, things like that. Now you have to, if you make $500, you start getting taxed on that shit. You start have to like establishing yourself as a business, which costs you more in the long run. It's just so sad. It totally penalizes people who don't make that much money. It does nothing for people who make millions.
Down and then they bounce back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it. Something which a lot of people don't like to talk about.
Made up.
But he had far more people dying in his administration.
Oh.
He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect.
Oh, honey, we haven't been respected in a long time. Are you fucking kidding me? The grand delusions that Trump has. I mean, but Trump, it's like the shit he says is like far more I can stomach it better because, like, that's what I expect. With Biden, it's like he comes off as self-righteous and, like, I expect more, but he just, like, he makes me more pissed off at this point. That doesn't make me like Trump more. I'm just saying I get what I expect with Trump, which is grand delusions. You know, just shine a light bulb up your fucking ass and drink a little bleach, you'll be fine. That was his COVID solvency.
Respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a four-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24% or 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if...
What the fuck is that noise?
Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What the fuck was that?
He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people, they cannot believe what happened to the United States.
Yeah, you're friends with Putin. You're friends with other countries as far as that they know that they can manipulate you. Oh, yeah, they totally want you to be president. That would be great. All you have to do is give Trump a little flattery, make him feel like he's doing something great, and he'll just be putty, orange putty in their hands. The Republicans are trying to get rid of Social Security. Exactly. They keep moving the age up. It's like, oh, when you're 60, you get Social Security. Nope, now, like, you have to be fucking 65. Now you have to be, like, 70. I don't think I'll ever see Social Security, even though I pay it. It's taken out of my paycheck. You think I'll see that? No. Never. I'll probably work it at a gas station when I'm 70. Or still YouTubing. God, that would be worse. No offense. I'm just cracking jokes.
United States of America, we're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and
they don't like
they think
us.
We're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump.
Oh, I'm all about Social Security. In fact, I think Social Security should be given out to people who are, I don't know, haven't even started working yet. I think there should be a UBI, Universal Basic Income, man. It's been proven time and time again. If you give people basic income, like, there's been study, like, there was one study, I think it was like Detroit or something, where they gave like homeless people, like, they tried this thing where they gave a group of homeless people like $1,000 a month, and like half of them made it out of homelessness, which is like an astonishing like percentage, and paying them $1,000 a month saved the city money, because it's cheaper to give people money to survive than it is to pay for the resources of people going to jail, people going to the emergency room, people, you know, going to homeless shelters, this, that, and the other. Like, it's more expensive to perpetuate homelessness than it is to actually give people like $1,000 a month each. So I'm totally all about like universal UBI, bitch, all the way. UBI, Universal Basic Income. Fuck yeah, give everybody the basic. Give it, and if you want to get into something, like, everybody should get the basic, but there should still be the element, I think, that's a little bit capitalistic, where if you want to make more money and like get a bigger place or this, that, or the other, that's fine. But like, everybody needs the basics. Everyone needs basics. Not just to survive, to thrive. California spent billions on homelessness. How did that go? It's not going great. At least not in my immediate area. My immediate area, they just move them. They're like, just move the homeless. Make them go over here. No, that's not working. Make them go over here. No, we don't like that. Let's make them go over here. It's like, could you fucking actually like do something? Like, help them? Instead of just like complaining where they're sitting. Like, when you're homeless, you find out very quickly that it costs money just to exist. Like, you can't even like sit in a park, because then eventually you have to leave because there's like certain park hours. Like, you can't be walking around on the sidewalk all night long. You got to sleep eventually. You can't sleep here, you can't sleep there. Like, it's so dismal. Like, it costs money just to exist, just to breathe air. That's why I'm a huge proponent of libraries, public libraries, and I think we need more of them, and bigger public libraries, better facilities, places for people to get knowledge and some resources.
Tana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho.
Oh, God. Here we go with abortions. Fuck me.
Despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking...
And this is where he's going to lose a lot, like he loses a lot of extremists who are just like, see him as a god. They're like, the fact that he's even like remotely lenient on the abortion issue, like loses a lot of people's faith in him, people who are very Christo-fascist extremists. So it's really, it's a little interesting that he does that. Obviously not enough to save his entire personality and character, but it's interesting nonetheless.
Complex, but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was, an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all...
Well, the problem is some states are making it illegal in ways that are just absolutely atrocious. It's like, well, you can go to a different state and get an abortion, but if you come back to our state, then we're going to try you for, put you in jail for murder. Like, it's not that great of an idea. It's really not. Like, I don't know why he's putting it on a pedestal and acting like everybody wanted it. I don't think people really cared. Well, they did. That's not what I mean. It's like, I just find it really interesting that a lot of these basic issues that we have already gone through in history are coming back on the table. And a couple of things that are going to be on next is contraceptives. Those are on the rise to be banned outright. You know, in addition to abortion, it's not just abortion, it's like birth control. And same-sex marriage. And bet your ass, interracial marriage will be on the table too.
Making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after
Bullshit.
birth. After birth. If you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby.
That's
What
such
happened
bullshit.
is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, have your and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that. But here's the deal: there's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many.
What the fuck did I just listen to? Shit about immigrants? Are we gonna start chanting "Build the Wall"? What the fuck is happening here? What is going on over there?
Many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place.
Yo, of all the shit to say about abortion, what the fuck did he just say? Joe Biden has lost his goddamn mind.
Anywhere in the world, consider the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion.
This is fucking, like, why would Biden do that? Like, he just completely negated, like, the main fucking heart of the issue and just talked about, like, some immigrant R-wording. Like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why are we looking at these men?
Abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which, frankly, they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time.
Why are we talking about late-term pregnancies as if it's like a casual option? Like, only in extreme, crazy medical cases. But I hate talking about that shit, because there's always that one motherfucker that's like, check out this article, though, about this person who actually did that, and it's like some stupid fucking, like, made-up shit. No, really, it's real, look. Like...
is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about a woman's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run.
Well, thank you. At least you're saying that.
And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth.
No.
Because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again,
you
the governor,
giant
former governor
orange
of Virginia,
oaf. No.
Put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. you can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do
No,
whatever
nobody's
you want.
talking. Why are we going there?
We think it's a radical thing. We
Why
think the
are we
Democrats
going
are the
there?
radicals, not the Republicans.
That is such a
51 years,
weird
that was
fucking
wrong.
thing to focus
51
on.
years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard.
Because we're about to build the wall,
agreement
baby.
that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated.
Joe, you have done absolutely jack shit for those people in captivity there at the border. Sorry, if anything, you made it fucking worse.
That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we have the safest border in the history of our country. All he had to do is leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylums.
He's not wrong.
Terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in
Thank you,
caravans.
President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including...
I don't want to give Trump points, but he's probably been warned quite a bit before going into this, because he seems to be pretty good about, respecting the timing, and the cutoffs.
Those who have
I've
jobs,
seen worse.
including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying, and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest
Veterans
approval
do
for veterans
not
taking
get
care of the
anything,
VA.
though. Like,
He
they
has
get
the
jack
worst.
shit.
He's gotten rid of all the things
Totally.
that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by
Thank you,
allowing
President Trump.
all of these people to come in.
President
And it's
Biden.
a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
Oh,
President Trump?
Jesus, fuck.
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up. Just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up. Just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking, it's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its 3rd year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They
That's
can't
not the
stand him.
question.
So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that
Oh,
knew,
wow.
that
Joe
was
Biden has a
respected by
facial
Putin,
expression.
he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned, and so he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded.
Oh,
in a million years
shut
by
up.
Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world was blowing up under him.
You gotta be kidding
President
me.
Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact
Malarkey!
is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000.
He sounds like that, AI generated Gary Busey of buttered sausage. Butter sausage. Why are you always talking about butter sausage? Get it out of my face. Butter sausage. You know what I'm talking about?
President Trump,
I
if
never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question.
Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? The buttered sausage. Biden sounds exactly like this shit. This buttered sausage bit.
Let's talk about your cable ace award.
Let's
in
talk about buttered
1987.
sausage. Talk about buttered sausage, where it comes from, what it does, why is it doing what it's doing. Get it out of my face. What about buttered sausage?
That's not your jam. It's not your thing. You don't like it?
It's not my jam. I don't buy jam. I buy honey, and I kiss it on the lips.
I buy honey, and I kiss it on the lips. Not on about that buttered sausage. Get it out of my face. I don't know why Biden sounds exactly like this.
Question, which is, are Putin's
Buy a
terms
little honey,
acceptable
and then
to
I
you?
kiss it on the
Keeping
lips.
No, they're
territory
not
in Ukraine.
acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm
Didn't
not
it
knocking
take
him. I'm not
forever
knocking
to actually
anything.
get money
I'm
to
only saying
Ukraine?
the money
Or am
that
I
we're
missing
spending
something?
on this war, and we shouldn't be spending. It should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect, before I take office on January
Yeah, they'll sit down and have some McDonald's and Diet Coke. It's great.
20th, I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire. Not just a piece. He wants all of
Mother
Ukraine.
Russia.
That's what he wants. And then do you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that
Putin is a psychopath. I mean, that's obvious.
money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone
Give Israel money.
United Nations Security Council, to the G7, to the Israelis, and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with the
Biden's whole dealings with this have just been so abysmal, like just total jack shit.
additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas, number one. They're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are two different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any, they were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's
finish the job.
But they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
Do you know what that means?
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to
Holy
get out of
fuck.
NATO. Are you going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but were we ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker.
Okay.
But she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar.
Oh, my
She said,
fuck.
I take full responsibility for January 6th.
Oh, shut up.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in that dining room off the Oval Office.
Oh, shut
up. 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say...
he'll pardon all of them if he can.
He went to every single court in the nation I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing.
January 6th wouldn't have happened if Trump wasn't so fucking beside himself from the vote turnout to begin. Like, that would have never happened if Trump wasn't upset about that.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots? Come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea
yeah, right.
Will you denounce these guys?
We gotta forget. We can't forget that, you know, most people that were involved in that January 6th things were an extreme Christo-fascist and even neo-Nazi line of thought. I mean, Proud Boys are Nazis, straight up. I mean, I know, like, everybody's like, oh, you always throw the Nazi word around a lot. It's like, but they are, though. Like, but they are. We got to stop being, you know, so sensitive about these terms and how frequently they're used when they're correct.
Attack that Capitol. What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level.
So are
his
you.
son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times.
You are also a convicted felon.
The statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a
What
convicted
the
felon
fuck are you
as soon as he
talking
gets
about,
out of office.
bro?
Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion.
Stormy Daniels, the storm came and wiped you out, dude.
That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky.
You
You're
are a
lucky.
criminal.
I did nothing wrong.
A convicted
we have
criminal.
A system that was rigged and disgusting. I
Oh,
did nothing wrong.
shut
Thank you,
up.
President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, for having sex with a porn star on the night
The storm
your wife was
came.
pregnant. I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an animal.
What's going on over there,
Did
Mr. Trump?
I didn't have sex with a porn star.
Yes,
Number one.
you
Number two,
did.
that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in.
Yeah, because of your, like, sad, sorry grifting opportunity for the fanatics, the cult fanatics.
The history of any campaign, I don't think any campaign has ever taken hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy that's after.
It's not because, well, I mean, as much as I hate it, he did rake in a lot of money from people feeling sorry for him because he got convicted. I mean, they made a lot of money. That whole trial was his political campaign. He didn't really run a political campaign. That was his political campaign. And it works for him. Sadly, sad but true, it's working.
His political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming out. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any president say that?
I don't buy jam. I buy honey, and I give it a kiss on the lip, little kiss on the lips.
I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides." What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people? And this is the guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake,
it's true.
Both of you know that, sir, has been totally wiped out because when you see the
Has it?
It said 100% exoneration on this. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's
That's
ridiculous.
true.
We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency,
And yours.
without question, the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country.
And
We shouldn't
you.
be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why.
And didn't somebody shit on the floor?
Why 40 of his 40
We can't
top
forget that.
cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
All right, I'm going to go pee on this note. I'm going to pee, stay here, and we'll come right back, okay? Don't go anywhere. Just going to pee. Be right back. Okay. Back at it, I guess. Wait, where's my bullshit sunglasses? Oh, here they are. I gotta put on my glasses to shield my eyes from the bullshit. Okay, I can't raw dog it. I can't raw dog the bullshit, okay? I need a little lube for this. Hey, Heretical, I already saved your P thing. I already got it. I'm waiting for people to submit more because I like a handful of things before I edit the file. So I do have it. Thank you so much. I like it a lot. I found it on Discord. I got your message on Discord loud and clear. I can see you plain as day over there. Anyways, thank you so much, everybody. If you're just popping in, if you're new, hello, my name is Jan Daemon. I'm Neogenian, and I'm covering this debate from a Neogenian perspective, and so far, it's all ridiculous. This is a shit show. None of these people have humanity in mind. Humanity's evolution in mind. No, let me rephrase that. None of these leaders have the potential of humanity in mind. They have no idea what it means to nurture the potential of the human race. Like, Jesus Christ. It's starting. It's starting again soon. Just wait. Just stay.
CNN presidential debate live.
Why can't we just see both of Trump and Biden just like fight it out gladiator style in a pit with lions and they're just like butt naked? We just as well.
From Georgia.
Like they're old, wrinkly, like out of shape asses, like huffing and heaving and just slapping the shit out of each other's cheeks.
Let's talk about persistent challenges you both faced in your first terms and you'd certainly face again in a second term. President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy.
Oh, we all wish this was a fake
and
debate.
Black Americans are imprisoned at 5
Unfortunately
times the rate
not.
of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're trying to provide housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the
Worst SNL sketch ever. Worst Saturday Night Live skit ever.
choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market.
Today, Junior.
Considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provide
Biden, who is like secretly racist, but not so secretly.
For the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest was forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right, it's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20.
Wow, what a great way to pin minorities against other minorities. Good job. I mean, we already got that going on between gays and trans people. Why not do that between blacks and Hispanics as well? Fucking brilliant. More divisiveness. This is the opposite of unity.
20 million people. They're taking black jobs and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy. Absolutely decimated the economy.
Decimated.
That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. It provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, if the ACA has increased, I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, I put more We put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done
It's
to the
true.
black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he
Those
called them
boys in
super
blue,
predators.
they
We can't
got
even
Trump.
mention that. We can't forget that.
100%.
Super predators was his name, and he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary.
Why does Biden always look like he's trying to avoid the gaze of the actual angel of death sitting in the crowd? Like, he looks like if he's about to get off stage, like the angel of death is going to lead him into the next life.
Are blacks, and that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O.
No, we haven't.
We had the best numbers ever, and we were
My asthma and allergies beg to differ.
using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing what any white student can do. They just have the money, but now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius,
what are you saying?
We'll go way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He must undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Great talks about the environment.
We, in fact, we were
Great.
the only ones of consequence.
Because none of this shit will matter when the planet's gone.
How can we do anything? We're not able to, the United States can't get this under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress. We continue to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people will learn how to deal with it, just like Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs,
what an old idiot
agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
so every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now,
I'm all about that.
Making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get.
Only
18
6?
years old. The idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one after, I would not.
I'm a big proponent of the idea where if you hit $1 billion, congratulations, you won capitalism. That's fucking it. You get a dog park named after you. Like, that's it. I didn't invent that. So I read that somewhere online, but like, I totally agree with it. You win capitalism. Congratulations. Here's a dog park named after you. Like, now everything you make above that is going to benefit your fucking community. You don't need that much money.
Raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000.
Because I'll tell you what, I don't give a shit about millionaires. I don't. Have $50 million, I don't give a shit. It's when you get into the billions, that is when it becomes fucking insane. And you have to exploit somebody in order to make that much money. Like, there needs to be a cap here. A capitalist cap.
Make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent, but the biggest thing will do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And that's
I don't care what he wants to do. I want to hear more about what you want to do.
I believe supports is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where we talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 towards their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies.
Have you looked in a mirror?
So many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, 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 Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Everything he
Russia,
does is a lie.
Russia.
It's misinformation and
Ukraine,
disinformation.
Ukraine.
The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable.
Jesus.
Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing. And it's really
like you have
coming
room to
back.
talk
I've
about
never
who's
seen
doing what
such
in luxury
anger
what's
in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one who acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child.
Cassie says, I've known quite a few undocumented immigrants and none of them live in luxury hotels. I mean, I live in the salad bowl of California, and what I mean by that is, like, I live in Central Coast, California. Like, Central California is where most of, like, vegetables and stuff is grown for America. And they hire a lot of illegal immigrants, and those people are not living in luxury. In fact, if anything, they're slaves. They're straight up slaves because they're illegal. There's no, like, regulations into, like, what they make here when they work. So it's like they're working for pennies to the dollar. Like, I just don't understand how people can, like, sit there and be like, well, they're just living in luxury hotels. They're getting handouts. They're getting, like, free medical care and all that. No, they're getting so little. So fucking little. And then they get shit on and get called, like, predators on top of it.
Care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the...
Hi, Mark. So good to see you. Mark is one of our beautiful moderators. Mark says CNN has been criticized for not supplying real-time fact-checking to their coverage of this debate. Well, that's not surprising. I mean, the people, like, hosting this debate just as well, I don't know, be scratching their assholes the whole time. Like, they're just completely useless. Nobody intervenes anybody and says, hey, wait a minute, let's stick to this. Like, nothing. It's just a fucking free-for-all. Imaginista says, migrant workers work in grueling conditions for change, can't even apply for medical or other state benefits, yet contribute to the economy by paying taxes on everything they buy here. Yeah. There's no labor law enforcement with illegal immigrants and working. Like, you can literally pay these people pennies. And, like, where I live, like, these people can be out in the fields in the farms, like, plucking produce for hours and hours a day in the hot sun and come home with maybe $15-20 in their pockets. That's it. But that's all they have.
FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put him there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody?
Mental institutions? What the fuck are you talking about? What mental institutions?
Our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be...
Oh, reading what Mark's saying, says it's sad to see between age and mild speech impediment, Biden is a poor public speaker, and the better and more persuasive of the two speaker is a pathological liar. It's true. Trump is more media trained than Biden. Like, Trump is good at delivering answers, even if those answers are fucking bullshit. Listening to Biden respond to shit is just like, it's just listening to old man Withers, like, old man Rivers, come to take me home. Like, it's so insufferable, honestly. Thank God this is almost over.
He wants to pick up those people as voters, and I don't think, we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance.
Our country doesn't have a chance with either of you. Either of you. I'm not impressed with either of you. And look, I'm not going to tell you chatters how to vote or anything like that, but I just don't like either of these two. I am just so unhappy with my voting choices this year. So fucking unhappy. And besides these two, who? Kennedy? That guy is so fucked up and weird. I ain't voting for that piece of shit.
Of coming out of this rut, we probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world. The finest in the
Yes, it is true. Worms ate Kennedy's brain. Kennedy had a case of worms in his brain, and they ate some of his brain. It's true.
history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody. Number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history, one through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong.
Okay, Joe, but being better than Trump is not hard to do. The bar is very low there. So the fact that you're just barely above that bar doesn't make you look good either.
But that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care. He did for virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you, and they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire so everybody...
You've already raised taxes. I have to pay more taxes. Rich people don't. I do. Thank you. The bracket changed. I now have to pay taxes if I make more than $500 on selling, like, grandpa's old baseball cards. Like, before it used to be like $20,000 before I had to report that in taxes. Like, thanks to you, I now have to report the peasly piddly little bit I make from doing YouTube.
Including the 2 of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000.
What middle class?
I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that we're importing. Number 2, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history, number 1. Number 2, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden. Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
I'm always so amazed by, like, this drug fentanyl. Like, I'm amazed how people get a hold of it. I think it's because, like, I just don't know enough people. So, like, I never am offered drugs. I almost feel, like, insulted by that. It's like, I don't want to take drugs, but I'm mad I'm not in a position where I'm offered or have the opportunity. I don't want to take them, but I want to be offered. Is that too much to ask?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industry.
Just fucking farted.
There's more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left.
You're destroying the country. No, you're destroying the country. No, you're destroying the country. No, you are destroying the country. No, Jesus Christ.
The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot. and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low, because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways, but the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of
What the fuck are you talking about?
All the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, don't do it.
Yo, he's sounding like Trump right now. We got these machines, these fentanyl machines. They're very big. They come over the border. We got these big fentanyl machines. Spend a lot of money. They cost a lot of money. Like, he's kind of sounding like Trump right now. It's so funny. We got machines. These big machines cost a lot of money, but we got them. They're over the border. Big fentanyl machines. We got them. They're spotting the fentanyl. We got it.
It's going to hurt me politically. No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country.
Build the
in Asia
wall.
In terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases. We paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns
Jesus
about your
Christ.
capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized.
Can we have a president that's like, I don't know, the youngest year you can be president, which I think is like 35? Like, can we get that?
I was being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people.
If you're in my stream, please like it. Thank you.
Well, the whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call them, to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before.
For a long time.
Like, name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he coddles up to from.
We're not in a good position. I'm sorry. We're not. As a country, we're not in a great position. Our systems do not help people progress, actualize, or reach their full potential. People are surviving at best. And as Neogenians, we don't want people to simply survive. We want people to thrive. We want people to have universal basic income, basic rights, all these things, so that they can grow beyond that basic level. The fact that everybody right now is fighting so hard just to survive and even get basics seems like a luxury at this point. That's what's wrong with this country. When basic care, basic necessities are considered a luxury, we've lost. I can't tell you how many articles I've seen where media puts out like, oh, look at millennials are doing a grocery splurges like it's a special luxury. It's like, why is buying groceries considered a luxury? This is fucking stupid. Like, are you kidding me? We're not great. We're not a great country because of Biden or Trump. Either of them.
Kim Jong-un, we sent love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Trump has his head up his own ass, and Biden has his head up the asses of the fucking corporations that pay him.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular.
Spec says dental care should be considered health-related, not cosmetic. It's true, because I have Medicare, or like Medi-Cal, and it's very basic with the dental. Like, I can get back teeth fixed, but if I chipped my front tooth, like if I lost a front tooth and it got completely knocked out, I would have to pay completely out of pocket for it because it's considered cosmetic and not necessary for functioning.
Club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that
nobody cares about golfing.
As I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was.
And actually, Trump sucks at golf. There's plenty of clips out there that shows that he really fucking sucks at golf.
Years ago, I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds.
You never said it was 6'4".
Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what you're. Anyway, just take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry on.
That's the biggest lie. That he's a 6 handicap of all.
How did you be?
I was at 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I had, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know
This
you
is
swing.
stupid.
Okay,
Let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn.
Let's not act like children.
Yeah, let's not act like children, even though you fucking brought up the golfing shit. These are people that are supposed to be leading our country. Why are they arguing about golf? Who plays golf better? Like, I need a drink.
You
To
are
a
a child.
specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Oh!
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally
No, you don't.
unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen.
You are currently in trial for this shit right now. It's just a very weird timing with the election and the trial for the January 6th shit. This is why I'm on antidepressants. Because of these people. These people. My personal life circumstances cannot amount to the stress and the bewilderment and just the lack of capability to do anything about it. Because of leaders like this. This is why I'm depressed. This.
In addition to the speech I made, in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my
shut up.
many
Yes, he
places
would.
enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent.
Oh,
Because he
shut up.
indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was
I did everything right and they indicted me.
the great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now.
You didn't make America great again the first time you were president. What makes you think you're going to do it now?
Now we're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we're a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed.
Shut up. This
We're
is
needed
dumb.
to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead.
We're going to be going into war
Make
with
sure you
Biden.
move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
And Trump.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up,
We're getting war either way,
the
babies.
question was, will you
Brace
accept
for
the
impact.
results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush.
Russia.
They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden.
Obama.
They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started, ever, with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were president.
That's dumb. Yes, they would have.
The results of the
Totally.
election, regardless of who wins. Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much.
But that's the problem. Is even if it is, you're going to state that it isn't. You're going to state that it's all set up. You're going to state that it's lies, all that shit. That's the problem. Is you say, yes, I would, if it's like fair and legal, but you'll never actually think that.
Rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level, because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation.
Calling you out, bitch.
There is no evidence of that at all.
Calling it out.
And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it, because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
It's true. It's so true. He's got you, bitch.
With more from the CNN presidential debate, live from Georgia.
All right, we're just about done. We got a few minutes left of this. And in fact, I'll take another pee break. We'll be right back. We only got a few minutes left of this. Stay here. Stay here. I'll be right back, okay? Enjoy the pee screen. Okay, my lovelies. Let's finish this. We are in the final few minutes, okay? We're making it. Now I see what you're talking about, Specs. You're like, this music sucks.
It is now time for the candidates to deliver their closing statements as predetermined by a coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that will be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did?
Wow, brilliant! I'm so inspired.
Debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along, it's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credit people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems.
What is this, the Roman Empire? We're still dealing with lead pipes?
Bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Let's go.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do
shut
this,
up.
we want to do
Talk
that,
about
we
you.
want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in.
Millions.
Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. And
you're right, Mark Flint.
With Iran, including China. They couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed.
No, I know there's bad water in cities like Flint. I guess my point of that is like these things should already be like solved, but they're not, and that's why it upsets me.
Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's ever.
We need the deets.
Seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
Okay, that's it. That's it, my friends. Before anybody leaves, real quick, I want you to follow my new YouTube channel. And the new YouTube channel that I created is specifically clips of live streams. So if you're not around for my live streams, you can get caught up by watching clips. It's Jan Daemon Clips. So these are just edited and cut versions of the live streams so that you don't have to commit to a whole live stream. Okay, so already I got 3 videos up. I got one on Justin Timberlake, one on Dyson Spheres, one on Robert Morris, and I will be cutting and clipping tonight's live stream and uploading it onto this. So if you go to Jan Daemon Clips, you can find me on YouTube. Please follow that channel there. If you don't want to commit to full live streams, you can just like catch individual subjects there. It's a way to make it more digestible for people who can't make it to my live streams. So please follow my other channel, Jan Daemon Clips. You just type it in like that, find me right here. And you can find the clipped version. I will be making a clipped, edited version of tonight's live stream and uploading it on there. Typically on Mondays. Geez, what do we want to watch? Something like a palate cleanser, like funny dogs, funny pets, something just to like clear the palate. Funny animal videos. Okay, we're gonna watch a little funny like 10-minute animal video, and then we'll say goodnight, just as a palate cleanser. Little palate cleanser, you know, because that was just like really a ferrets, but ferrets are like they're totally illegal to own in California for some reason.
Meditation.
Turtle yoga.
He's got us guessing.
The thing about turtles, I've had turtles, they like to do yoga. They like to sit and like stretch their like arms out and their legs out and like twist them around. I mean, I imagine it feels good if your spine is infused to a shell.
I'm scared.
Who said these quackling listeners could use my house as a duck B&B? Authority!
Get out! stupid. More stupid fucking music.
No way.
Me when something gets in my way?
No, I don't want the same channel. Thank you. I don't need stupid music. Yo, cats are weird. Oh, that's cute. Oh. Oh, shit. Yo, I would love to go to like one of these feeding zoos where like you sit in your car. Llamas though, they'll spit at you. Do not walk up to a llama. They will spit at you like this. Yep, right in your fucking face.
Katy.
What are you doing?
Oh my god.
He get a donut.
Oh my god.
Uh-oh. Sneezos. Peekaboo. Okay, there's actually one video. There's one video I like, and then we'll end with that and then go to bed because I think I'm done. But like, there's like one video where like a dog farts and a cat barfs. It's so funny. Dog farts and cats throws up. This is like the funniest fucking video I've seen. In fact, I watch it on repeat because it's just like, it just makes me fucking laugh every time.
What the hell?
Marty, no, honey.
I just love it. It's like the longest ass fart from a dog, and then it just cuts over to the cat that's just yakking. It's one of my favorites.
What the hell?
Marty, no, honey.
It's even even projectile. Just like, okay, one last time, just because I love, just one last time. Sorry, so funny.
What the hell?
Monty,
The cat is like, no. Okay, I feel better. Do you feel better? I feel better. I think that's better. All right. Hey! Guess what? Tomorrow is a live stream by the Neogenian Oculus. They were supposed to go live last week, but they had some technical issues, so they're going live tomorrow. I will be there moderating the stream, chatting in the chat with you all, so please join me there. It's Neogenian Oculus. Let's look it up. Neogenian Oculus. Oops. Too many C's. Go over to the Neogenian Oculus right here. And they're going to go live tomorrow. Philip and Susan. This is a very good channel with stuff about Neogenianism. It's good. They're great. We love them. Okay? All right, friends. Thank you so much for coming to my live stream. Please like the live stream. And if you become a member, that would mean the world to me. It's a way to support me, a way to help me keep doing what I'm doing. You know, I got like major car repairs. I've got school to start soon. So like money comes my way. That really helps me live and thrive and survive. So, Elise says, I think Susan says she was going to have to reschedule tomorrow's stream. Maybe. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Just stay tuned, okay? All right, everybody. Have a good weekend. I love you. Take care. Please take care of yourselves and be nice to yourself. Be kind to yourself, and we will see you again, okay? Okay? All right. Goodbye. Bye. Mwah. Love you.